Welcome to Culture Before Content. Culture Before Content, from Music for All and presented by Yamaha. And now, here's your host, David Duarte.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm David Duarte, your host for Culture Before Content at Music for All. And within the Culture Before Content community, our mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music. And we are honored to have Yamaha here as our national presenting sponsor to bring this podcast to you. So you're probably either watching us on Facebook or YouTube if you're watching us on video. If you're watching us live, please take time, throw in some comments, just say hi. We'd love to have you. You can do it. Just chat anytime. If you're watching the broadcast, the broadcast of the past, watch us, like us, and then please think about sharing it with your friends. So you can also listen to the podcast on audio. So about every Monday, we have our podcast available on Apple and Spotify and most major platforms, or you can just visit musicforall.org/podcast, and you can find all the information you need to get to our podcast. All right, let's talk. I would say last week, but oh my gosh, it was 2 weeks ago. I hope you guys had an amazing Super Bowl experience. By the time I got to turn in, it was kind of a big score. So anyway, last week we had Rachel Maxwell, who brought an electrifying energy to the conversation. She was amazing. And we got to find out we actually had the same band director in college, just two different places. She dove deep into what it takes to make a band program thrive beyond just the music. She shared how high expectations and culture go hand in hand and how students take actual ownership when given the right tools, why creating a genuinely inclusive space transforms everything. Her insights were packed with practical takeaways from student-led rehearsals to fostering curiosity through intentional reflection. And whether you want to elevate your band's musicianship or rethink your approach to classroom culture, that episode is a must watch. She was great and she was fantastic, and we had a great time. So let's get on to this week. I am so excited. We have our first repeat guest. If you remember all the way back to last January, we had Matt Wood. Matt Wood is the director of bands at Ridgeview High School in Round Rock, Texas, and he was so nice to be the very first guest on this show. So we thought, let's have him back. Let's see what's new. Let's see what's different. And let's talk a little bit more now that we've been going for a while. So the last time he was here, we discussed his journey from a struggling musician to a band director, the importance of building a positive culture in music education, and strategies for engaging students in the band classroom that I use to this day. So let's bring him out. So without any further ado, please welcome to the show, Mr. Matt Wood.
Hey, David, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, Matt, it is great to see you. And, it's fun, kind of funny because we've talked on the phone a lot, here in the last year. And, the chance to actually get to see each other and talk is always, always amazing. I always feel like a little bit more personal.
Absolutely agree. It's been really cool that, we've kept that friendship going from episode 1 to now. And so it's cool. It's going to be really great to catch back up.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, we didn't even know each other before we had the show, and now we've taken super lots of time to get to know each other, get involved in each other, and I think that's what's neat about this show is it is creating friendships, and not only that, I will say this, I don't know if you remember on the show, but you gave some practical advice about talking to the students in the classroom and just bringing a little bit of their selves to the week, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try that. And now that is like a major part of my day, and it's a major part of my week. I don't know about you, but I've been out of the classroom for a few days because we got some snow here. So by the time we get back, it's just a night. That's like the ultimate transition to get back to work because sometimes the kids are a little lethargic after a week, a little unplanned vacation. But I just want to say thank you so much because that was one of the biggest takeaways that I got was just like engaging the kids more at their level when I just it seems so simple, but it was just something I wasn't doing and I added to my arsenal.
Oh, thank you for those kind words, and I'm actually looking forward to that as well. I've been gone for a week as well. I wasn't because of snow. I was down in San Antonio for the Texas Music Educators Association conference. So yeah, we're gonna have a big celebration of what did you guys do the last week? Because I wasn't here. I didn't get to experience it with y'all.
Well, let's talk about that for just a second. So, I always like to share with people, Texas, if you haven't been to Texas Music Educators Conference, it is just amazing. I went, it's been a long time. You ready? I last went in 1990. And we drove there from Tucson, Arizona, in a Ford Escort. It was great. But I just remember thinking to myself, I had just been to Midwest for the first time, and I went to Texas, and I was just astounded how large the whole thing was. And it's so large that the honor bands there, and I think we talked about this, they're still split up. There's when I went there, it was a 2A, 4A, 6A year, so that was classification to school size. But I was so enamored with all the performances. The hall with all the vendors is just gigantic. So maybe let's start with that. Well, so
Sure.
uh, we all need to go to our educators conferences when given an opportunity. But what does Texas Music Educators have to offer? Why did Matt want to go?
Um, well, I got exposed to it at a really young age. I grew up in San Antonio. So as soon as I started knowing that I wanted to be a music educator, I started going. They had Saturdays was always open for students. And then when I was a senior in high school, I convinced my mom to let me miss one day of school to go and actually get to go to some of the clinics and things like that. And it was super cool. And it inspired me to want to be a better teacher, even at a really young age when I hadn't even really started classes about that. And since then, every time I come back, I feel like I learn something new, and every year is just a little bit different. And I get to see old friends, I get to meet new friends. I think it's just a really great community of people who really care about their kids and want to help them become better musicians and better people.
Now you didn't just go to the conference. You did some volunteering there. Is that true?
I did. I served this year as the uh, organizer, the all-state organizer for the 6A Symphonic Band, which is that top group of Texas musicians. Steve Davis was the conductor this year from UMKC. Fantastic musician, fantastic human being. Those kids were so lucky to have him during that time, and it was just so really cool seeing how he worked his magic over those 3 days. We finished the performance right about now, about 24 hours ago. We were about to go onto the stage, and by the time we got to the ends of the Pines of Rome, I mean, I don't think there was a single person that wasn't smiling in that room, kid or audience member included.
Yeah, my impression of Texas, that band, because that was the very first band I, of course, went and listened to, and it was like, I wasn't even a teacher yet, because back that was right when I was going to become a music educator and go to the high school. And so my impersonation of Texas All-State is it's not how great and amazing the top chairs were. It's how the fact that as you go down the section, there's not much of a drop off. And that's really the biggest difference I noticed from, going to all the other all states around the country, is that level of musicianship is just crazy good. And so you're right, getting the chance to work with Stephen Davis. So here's my question. Like I said, I'm going to always center this around the culture. What was the culture of that band like? What are some things that you noticed, if you could be a band director and say, I wish my kids would be blah, 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 what would it be like to be a part of that band?
Well, I think he did just a really great job of very upfront, just kind of setting his expectations. He said, I'm going to push you really hard because you worked hard to be here, and you deserve that performance of a lifetime. But he also took a lot of time to show that he's a human being. I mean, every block he had a 5 to 10 minute section where it was just ask me any question, anything that comes to mind, ask me a question. And that, varied from food preferences he had to music choices to, when did you know you wanted to go into music? And they got to really see that he was a human being beyond just an incredible musician and, their conductor at that time. And man, by the end of that, the concert was about 45 minutes. And I think we stayed in that green room after congratulating everyone. And he was signing programs and giving hugs and taking photos for probably another 45 minutes. It was just incredible, the journey he took them on.
Wow. I can't, like I said, I wish I would have been in that band at least one time in my life. Cause it's one of those things of like, think about the memories that those students take away. And even the directors, did a lot of directors go and watch the rehearsals? Was there an opportunity
It,
there?
it was packed almost every single block, every single hour, maybe a little bit lighter during the lunch hours, but there was 20, 30 band directors in there at any point, even at, 9 a.m. when we were kicking it off. A lot of people were there interested in seeing what was going on.
Anything that you picked up that you're taking away from all of this?
Oh my goodness, yes. Too many to list. It's so cool kind of seeing the balance he had of he taught public school for 9 years. He taught middle and high school, and then he, went and got his master's and went into the collegiate route. So his delivery of information could be a little bit more abstract. Hey, I want you to think of it like this. And then it got a little bit more concrete. Hey, think about this or that. And then even if it's not, then he really went into his, public school teaching mode and was like, no, I need your tongue to do this. Like, this is the motion it needs to do, or use this alternate fingering, or do this or that. And just seeing someone at that caliber, who we all really respect at the collegiate level, still be able to, talk pedagogy like it's the back of his hand, was just really cool to witness, and just a good reminder to me of like, hey, you got to be constantly studying this stuff for sure.
Wow. So any other final thoughts on TMEA, or, if I was a director and I had never been to TMEA, why should I come from out of state? What would be a good reason to go?
I think just the depth of resources that our state has built up. The convention is now over 100 years old. So it just has a long history and culture, and people come from all over, not just Texas, but the state, to come present and give really great ideas. And you meet some folks that may be your friends for the rest of your life. It's also such an amazing community of people. And, I can't say more great things about it. It's been really, really awesome getting to go year after year and learning new things every year. And I think that really has prevented, that feeling of burnout of, I learned something new at Team EA and I want to go try it. And so I never feel like I'm bored or I'm doing the same thing. It's like every year when I come back to school about this time, there's not maybe a huge pivot or shift, but there's something I want to try a little bit differently than I was doing earlier in the year, because someone said something in a way I'd never thought of before.
Yeah, and it's, to me, you're not all that close to San Antonio. I know Austin to San Antonio is not, it's close, but it's not too close. So what do you say, because you're married, you have a family, how do you keep that, I always try to remind people, we've got to have our lives and we've got to have our professional lives. And how do you keep those cultures going alive? How do you keep what Matt wants to improve upon and still keep a home life and still go, yeah, I'm doing great, I have time for this?
I'm going to actually relate it back to something Stephen Davis said in the first few sentences with the All-State group earlier this week, which was, how do you spell love? And they all just kind of, took their head and looked sideways. And then he said, it's this, Time. And he said, I'm giving you my time and I want you to know that I love you. And so there are busy times throughout the year. And thankfully, I have a wife who is a musician. She doesn't do that as her day-to-day job like me, but she was an all-state musician. She actually played in Professor Davis's ensemble when he was a Team EA conductor 10 years ago. And so, yeah, it's kind of cool going full circle. And wow, you were my wife's conductor when she was in the all-state band. And now I get to see you in action and build this connection. That was really cool. But I think it's about not necessarily about spending a ton of time, but at all times, because sometimes you just can't, you're busy. There's things of the job we have to do. But when you do, you're very intentional about spending, when you have that downtime, spending it with those that you love and that are making those sacrifices for you, some time for you to really enjoy this career that you love.
Yeah, and so on the screen for our listeners out there, Matt Wood has a wonderful website, and I'm gonna tell people about it right now, because it's kind of like transitions to my thing. So it's one of those things where I feel like my impression of you, Matt, is you just love music and you love teaching, and and that whole experience to you, or as I say, it's just about the experience and keeping busy. So this is another project. So for those of you who are listening, this is concertf.net, one word, concertf.net. And so before, as the people are viewing it, why don't you take a moment and tell us about your website?
Yeah, it started probably about, I think, 2 years now, maybe 3. I've kind of lost count. And I've been really good about sharing things. And then I've had some times that I haven't been. It's kind of off and on, but I realized that one of my favorite things I've done so far in my career, I've had the opportunity to, is mentoring student teachers and having those conversations with them and really trying to share reflections, because I'm not super far into my career yet. I'm still not double digits. So I remember what it's like to be a college student somewhat, and I remember student teaching a little bit. And so trying to relate to them and help them out with the things that they're currently going through. And I realized that a lot of that information I'm sharing with them, other people could probably benefit from as well. It's all reflection based. I don't think I'm an expert. I'm not, a replacement for a clinician. But I really just try to be open about feelings that I've had in my career so far, and maybe how I've overcome it, or maybe I haven't even figured out how to do that yet, but just want to share what's going on, because I think that sometimes we try to think that we have to, come across as being perfect. And that's simply not true. We're going to have struggles along the way, and sharing that with other people is going to help us get through it.
Well, I sometimes think that, we have the social media version of our lives that people see, but then people don't see the reality.
Mhm.
We see the happy picture, or, or those things, but sometimes, we had honor band last week. So on my week off from my podcast, I went to honor band all weekend, which was great. And I started talking to one of the younger band directors, and he was sharing his story about life. And I was thinking he was generally unique, and I said generally unique, and I'm like, you know what? Let me tell you my story of how my year's going. And he finally took a moment just to say, "Oh my God, that is actually refreshing." I thought I was just the only one going through some of the things. I'm like, oh no, there is not a year that goes by that something dramatic hasn't happened, or some, what I say, we don't put that out as teachers to here. Let me put all my faults out onto the front so that people can and be a part of them. And then I was like, yeah, no, what we put out to the people is what we do and our love for it. But we have to, like I always say, I have to have somewhere to outwardly share things that I go through, just so that I can, get it out, or oddly hear somebody else's perspective on some of those things. So you actually shared your latest update with me when you first wrote it, and I thought it is amazing. So to our listeners out there, it's concertf.net. Take a moment to go listen to it, go read it. And I think you'll find some amazing things on there. But all right, let's do some follow-up. So it's been a year. So let's talk about your culture journey. Anything changed for you as a band director, culture-wise, school-wise? I remember you were just in was it your first year at Ridgeview?
Yeah, I was
How
halfway
have things
through.
progressed? Where you at, Matt?
Well, the kids are doing amazing, just like they were last year. And I think what's different this year is that I really haven't changed. I'm who I am, and obviously I continually grow and want to tweak things and learn how to be a better. But they know who I am. There's trust built that I didn't have a year ago, and I think that that's been really important, because it's been more now. If I say jump, it's how high. It's not necessarily why. And last year there was sometimes some why, and that's understandable. I was a new face. They didn't know much about me, or what really drove me, or why I was, pushing them to these heights and things like that. But the kids are just doing absolutely great this year. We've had a lot of people come and get to we share the band hall with some really smart minds, and they've been really proud of their progress. And I think it's hard sometimes. We live in our band hall every day, and we don't necessarily get to see the growth. And that's why I like bringing in those outside people who can, kind of see it with fresh eyes and ears and go, this is a lot better. I can tell you've been working on this, let's try to focus on this area. And just having that outside input has been really helpful as we've kind of guided it to a positively life-changing experience, to borrow something from Music for All.
Oh, you gotta love that one. And what are some things that you've noticed from first year to year two? Because I'm on year 4,
Mhm.
but I always notice that just the feelings that you go through that first year, and how you get to the second year, and then third year, fourth year. I feel like we should have like get to a conference and go through a first year. People go there, discuss, and then maybe just what are the things that changed from year 1 to year 2? What can you look forward to? Because I remember last year. I was following your band progress, as you were going through a concert band assessment, and just, I know you were very not stressed out, but you were just very, on top of wanting to do well. And,
Mhm.
how's your preparation changed from last year to this year? What's different in your band? Any insights from year 1 to year 2?
I mean, it's planning for the 7th and 8th grade ensembles this year has been so much easier because I knew what we had taught last year in the beginner classes. I knew what last year's seventh graders were kind of capable of. And so that gave me a whole year to kind of plan around, hey, where do we think we can kind of get them with their development, and what literature is going to be a really good fit with those skills that we're continuing to develop. And so I think the music that we're playing this year, these kids absolutely love. And I had already been thinking, Cheryl Floyd, who's one of our main clinicians, is a master of knowing music at this level, these threes and twos and ones and fours, and has just been able to give me so many suggestions, and we listen to them, and we talk through them together. And so about this time last year, while we were already working on the program, the current UIL program, we were talking about, okay, for next year, what are some things that we could possibly do for UIL next year? Where can we take them? So that's been a huge benefit of, I've just been able to see, I was down in the trenches that first year figuring out how a campus works and how the program functioned currently. And I didn't want to change too much because, that's how you build trust, is trying to kind of adopting what has been going on and then making those small tweaks every now and then. And then you can make maybe a little bit bigger of a turn the next year, but it takes some time to, make it in your vision. And so I would say that the program's maybe not 100% mine yet still, just because, and it's not because we haven't made our best effort, but it takes time for everyone to kind of get used to expectations, and you honestly, for you to build that relationship up, to where there's that trust that if you need to change something, there's, a total willingness to just dive in.
And do you feel different this year than you did last year?
Yes, absolutely. I've spent less time but not with lesser quality, if that makes sense. I've figured out how to be more effective because I figured out better systems of doing things. I've figured out, how our campus functions, and, this is the process we need to do. The timeline's going to be about this. So I've definitely have probably had less sleepless nights this year, just feeling more comfortable knowing what to expect this year compared to last year.
What would you say the biggest difference in your students has been from last year to this year? Like, what are some things that you noticed?
Oh my goodness. So many things. They are so excited every single day in every class to just play their instruments. And that wasn't necessarily the case last year. And it wasn't a knock on anyone. I think we figured out something, and if I could put my thumb on it, I would, but something we kind of put in motion last year has made these kids leave the band hall every single day humming the songs they're playing, and, fight for practice rooms in the morning. And at some point, I'll probably be able to look back in 5 or 6 years and go, you know what, it was this one thing. But just seeing that, the kids love music this year. They love playing their instruments, and they love the people that are next to the left and right of them. And I think that pushes them even more to want to play their instruments even more. So seeing that happen has been really cool. And I think it just didn't happen last year because, again, they didn't have that relationship built with me yet, and knew who I really was.
Yeah, and see, that goes back to that thing. So you've got to be doing something that makes this happen. Because, like, even for me at the high school, creating a culture of practice to me is one of the hardest things to do when that's not in place. And so, I always think of, how do we get the kids to want to do things on the outside of band? And so it has to have to do with something, whether it's motivation, how you treat the kids, but how do you constantly motivate your kids to practice and turn that? Here's the bigger question, and turn it into a positive.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they see they now are starting to see the payoff. Absolutely. And I think a lot of it has been the training that we've done with them listening. We listen to professional players, we listen to professional ensembles, we listen to our own recordings, and they hear that progress. They can hear, and I make, every time I take recordings, I make it available to the kids as well, and I upload it to Google Drive and I share it to them, and they hear the progress, and that makes them really excited. And, I think that seeing their own progress is really, makes them happy. And I also just talk about how hey, we are the largest group project that you're ever going to be a part of. And unfortunately, this is not something that you've probably been a part of before, where, Johnny can not do his end of the science project and the other three people can, make something up and turn it in, and Johnny still gets the grade. There's a little bit of accountability of, I'm not as prepared as I hope I am, I'm letting the person on left or right of me down. And so I want to make sure that I'm supporting my friends. And, we just talk about it in that way, and not in like a mean way. But just, hey, like we have to support each other. We talk about it all the time. This is something from my years at the Music for All Summer Symposium. Fran Kick, who was the previous leadership coordinator of the camp, would always talk about what you put into is what you get out of it. And we actually end every rehearsal this year saying that. Which I go, hey, honor band. They yell back, hey, what? And I go, what I put into it, and they scream back, what I get out of it. But they take that to heart, and I've seen so much growth in those kids, not just musically too. They're really starting to understand of like, oh, I should apply myself on these things. It's a really positive thing in my life. I like the payoff, and yes, it's a little bit more work, and yes, it's 5 less minutes on TikTok. But I feel really good about it. I've helped someone else, or I've helped myself feel better.
So it has to be, to me, it has to be something in that environment that you're creating. Cause like, leadership is leadership, good or bad. Right. And so like, if you have a band where the culture is not around practice or, but to me, you've got to have some strategy that you use or some way that you present or somehow you start the year off where I'm sure you have kids that are not every kid is 100% on board all the time. But to me, once a kid figures out their role, that it almost that leadership of being good or wanting to improve catches on. So, do you have any rehearsal strategies that help along with that to get kids, or what do you say at the end of rehearsal? Is it go practice this? Is it, you got to give me an hour, or like, what are some of the words that come out of Matt?
We're very objective based. In Ridgeview, all three of us band staff members have some sort of objective that we ask our students to do. With the beginners, it looks almost like a little bingo chart, in that in the grading period they want to get all of those checked off. And so they work towards that. And I get to tell the parents at the beginning of the year, if they say they don't have anything to work on, ask them to show you their benchmark sheet, and there's probably something that they can do. And we even give them some extra credit with some incentives. Like if they get to a certain amount of extra credits that they've done for the entire year, I can't remember what it is, maybe 10. They get to play a piece of music with the honor band at the very last concert of the year, which is our top performing group. And we find a very fun version of a movie score or something like that. Last year we did the Raiders March. This year we're doing Jurassic Park, and those kids are fired up to have that opportunity to play with the top dogs at the school, and get to be a part of that. And then in 7th and 8th grade, we do the same thing of, we have objectives that we have them submit once a week of, hey, I want you to record these 18 measures for me. And we hold them to a standard. So we never punish them grade wise. If you turn in something for band, you get 100. If it's not at the standard yet, it's not 100. It's a different grade. And then as soon as you resubmit it and it meets that standard, it's 100. And so I think that teaches them so many great things. It teaches them that you're going to fail things initially, and you can try, learn from it, try again, improve it, and you have that really good feeling. And I think that, just being very specific of like, hey, these, I call it the top 10 sheet with my ensemble, that they like those videos, like the top 10 countdown. So I figured that out last year. So this year we have like, here's your top 10. Okay. This week you need to turn in number 10 and 9, and then 8. And, the hardest thing is last, so that you have the most time to practice it. And, they've done phenomenal this year of just really working hard on those things. And it's paying off big time, because they're in a really great place at this point in the school year.
I'm glad you said something because that's, one of those things like, I always tell my students because I have a system. It's amazing how similar we all have these teaching. I send my kids off to do their recordings for me, and I just use their Chromebooks. And so
Mhm.
I found a cool system where they can go record with the source recording and I can hear them play. So I can see whether that, but you're right. You're right. Just turn it in. The goal is to turn it in and
Yeah.
to perform. And
Yep.
and then I can give you feedback, or like I can hear the kid who can't play something, but I'm not gonna. You're good. I always say perfect intent and improvement make me happier than trying to play perfect all the time, because I don't play perfect and I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I have perfect intent, but I don't have that perfection. So that's I thought that was amazing because I think we all find that way to reach the kids. Oh, and the other thing that I do about that is I have them reflect and give me where they think they are in a standards based world. So what happens is I take the sum of the entire band where you think they are, and I give out and it's amazing. It's like dead on accurate every time. Like I can tell you the piece that we've worked on the least is about, and we have a scale of 4 to 1. And so the that one's on a 2 right now because we've got, all the details aren't happening, dynamics, all that stuff. But getting them to play with intent and reflect has been amazing. And I want to talk to more of you personally about what you do, because like I said, it doesn't matter whether it's middle school, high school, college. We all work on trying to make our bands the best that they can be. So we're gonna change topics here because it kind of rolls into that thing of we only have so much time on these podcasts.
Yeah.
And I just find that amazing because you said something earlier that I want to latch on to, and you talked about what you did as a student growing up and being a part of Music for All. So let's start with the summer camp at Music
Mhm.
for All, because I know that's all coming up and we had talked about it, and we can and it's now's the time to mention it to the rest of the world. So let's talk about the student part of it first. Can you address the camp as maybe you a participant growing up, and what it offers and
Yeah.
why a student should go?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I wish that when I was in high school and middle school, I knew about, because I would have absolutely asked my parents to drive me all the way up to Muncie, Indiana to be a part of this experience. The kids have a fantastic experience this entire week, and there's so many different tracks that are offered now, even more than when I was that age. And could have gone. There's a drum major institute. There's a marching band that gets to perform with Carolina Crown. There's color guard, middle school and high school. There's marching percussion. There's a music production line section, which is really cool for those folks that want to, really get into that realm. There's concert band, and then before any of those tracks start, there's the leadership weekend, the Saturday, Sunday before, which is just a really cool experience to just see all of the growth the kids go through in about 48 hours. And so that's an incredible week for those students. And they get to take all of that amazing information from some of the best teachers that we have across the country, and they get to take it back to their band programs and just make the band that much better. So again, this is something I wish I could have gone to when I was in high school and middle school. And I came a little bit later. I got to attend as a director now 7 years ago, and have been there ever since.
And for our listeners out there, it's at camp.musicforall.org. So camp.musicforall.org. And it's just kind of one of those things that we wanted to lead people into, because it's that time to start thinking about, I always say this. We had some professionals come into my band a few weeks ago, and the first words out of their mouth is, "Hey kids, where are you going to camp?" And so that's, a big thing is, again, changing culture, trying to find kids to go out and do more. So, that's the kid side of it, but there's also a director side of it. And I know you've been heavily involved in that. So,
Mhm.
let's talk about the band director academy.
Yeah.
So, tell us about your experience.
Yeah. So my experience, again, I didn't know anything about this camp until actually the summer of 2018 when I had just graduated college. And Susan Smith called me, and she said, "Hey, what are you doing next week?" It was the third week of June. I said, "Well, I've graduated college. I haven't moved to my new job yet. I haven't started. So nothing. What's up?" And she said, Yamaha is offering scholarships to this summer camp up in Muncie, Indiana at Ball State University, that Music for All, which is over Bands of America. does every year. And I think that you should apply for it. I think that you would learn a lot of things and you'd really enjoy the environment. And so I applied for it, got a call, and they said, "Hey, can you get up to Muncie?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I called a friend and they applied for the scholarship as well. And then we took a road trip all the way up, and just had the week of our lives. It is such a cool experience. That first year we got to just learn so much from really, really amazing educators, and just coming out of college and being a sponge. It was just, really awesome to get to build those connections, get lots of amazing information, and really start to kind of develop what do I want my classroom to look like and be like, from these people that had done it for a really long time and at a really high level. So I remember sitting down. That we offer one-on-one sessions where you can sign up for a time with like Greg Bim, retired band director of Marian Catholic. And I remember getting to sit down my first year when I was an attendee of the camp, and talked with Greg Bim for 30 minutes about, tell me all the Marian Catholic stories. I've watched this band program. I remember hearing the name when I went up to Grand Nationals. I want to hear all the history, the story. Tell me your favorite moments about it. And just getting that perspective. And he gave really great advice about, hey, you're young, think about this. These are the mistakes I made along the way, and really gave me some insight that has helped me for my career so far. We get to play in a director band. So, there's a reading band just about every evening, that Richard Saucedo organizes. And he shows us to maybe some new literature. Here's some literature, especially, and I love is that he really tries to focus. He at least has one day that's on grade 3, 2, and 1, which as a young teacher is my wheelhouse. That's what I'm going to be teaching, for those first couple of years, at least, even probably at the high school level. And so that's been really cool getting to see him, just his rehearsal techniques, but also the literature and exposing us to things. I mean, it's a lot of music. Every night there's just an incredible concert. We last year, and I believe they're coming back this year, we had the Jazz Ambassadors. I know the Boston Brass is coming this year. Every Monday is the Yamaha Young Artists, which these are some amazing, talented musicians, that make me feel guilty of like, I haven't been working hard enough. If, this 20-year-old tuba player is just doing amazing things on his instrument. There's just so much offer at that camp. My really great friend Jarrell Horton describes it as a golden corral. It's an all you can eat buffet, and you take as much as you want. So if it's only two chicken fingers and a couple French fries, then that's on you, boo, as he would say.
Oh, Jarrell, former guest here on Culture
Yeah, I
Before
love
Content.
Jarrell.
So how would you say this camp has shaped you as a teacher?
It has just been so amazing, because so many people that you go and talk to are about kids and doing what's best for kids. And so it's just a great reminder. Now I serve on the camp staff, and help with the Directors Academy, with the Directors Academy assistants. And just getting to see these people that come back year after year, and building those connections and getting to talk with them, helping each other out throughout the year. And then, just getting to, I think that what makes it different than like a MEA or a Midwest is that it's so intimate, for lack of a better word. You're in a teaching theater, or you're in a classroom that, much like the one that you see in this photo right now, with a giant of our profession. And it's not a lecture where they, just talk to us for 45 minutes about things. It's a lot more dialogue back and forth, and asking questions and helping out. The people here that are on faculty are about making you and your kids better, and the people that attend are about making their kids better and want their kids to be better. So it's just such a positive environment to return to year after year. It gets me really energized for the next school year. I love it.
So, how much of that takeaway can a new director to the camp? So, if you go to the Director Academy, what is a new teacher? What can they expect to take home with them? What would be the big takeaway for them?
Sure. I mean, there's so many different tracks. I think that there's a incredible wealth of resources that You can even mix and match it some. There's middle school tracks. There are marching band tracks. There are percussion and color guard tracks, and everyone can attend all of these sessions. So I remember my very first year attending a color guard session just because I didn't know much about it and I wanted to learn more. And so there was a very basics, here's how you kind of teach your very first few lessons about color guard. Here's what you do. And I went and watched, even participated a little bit, and it was embarrassing because I was not anywhere as good as any of those color guard instructors. But it gave me ideas, and it gave me information that then helped me a year or two later when we were having issues with the color guard moment. I go, I think I know a little bit about this. Let me try to see if I can brainstorm something. So I think just the ability to mix and match and get to learn so many different things that week is so invaluable. And even if you can only come half a week, I know that there's last year and they're continuing it this year. You can stay for 3 days on either end of the week. And still get to, even if you can't commit for that whole time, still get to experience some of that magic we have.
Yeah. And so, to our audience out there, I have been invited to be at the camp this summer. I am excited. What can I expect, Matt Wood? What do I get? What am I going to get out of that? I'm kidding. I'm so excited to have been asked to be a part of this camp and, be a part of the Music for All family. It has been, to me, it's about starting with relationships, feeling tone, and then applying it to my culture. Because there's one thing, as you said, there's Greg Bim, and there's Richard Saucedo. There's all these people that you've met over time. It's kind of like this podcast. I get to meet people every single week, and I'm just in awe of what everyone has to offer. And it doesn't matter who it is. It's the takeaway and those relationships that we build. And so, how many people have you met? Yeah, but I'm not looking for a number, but
Sure.
how those relationships influenced your career.
I still talk to some people that I met at camp almost every day. And in fact, our Directors Academy assistant team, we have a group chat that is obviously very active during camp, but even outside of it, I mean, probably every week or every couple days, we're shouting each other out or we're doing something fun. It's a positive experience from the staff. It's a positive experience from all the campers. And the hardest part of the whole week is when we have to say goodbye. But it's not really goodbye. It's see you next year. And I know we all really look forward to just getting to see each other and share the experiences, much like you and I are doing on this podcast, coming back for the second time of just catching up and, hey, what's new, what's different, what's worked, what's not. It's just really incredible.
Well, there's one more thing I want to mention to our audience about you, because you also volunteer for Bands of America as well. Is that true?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So again, this is me thinking, to the audience member out there. How does this man? He's married. He has a life. He directs a band. He's going to all these conferences, and not only going as a participant, he's also hosting and doing all of those things. So talk about, because this is to me about getting directors to get involved, and how you got involved, and maybe what does the director need to do to get involved?
Sure, absolutely. Well, right now, a really great way you can get involved is we have a program called the SWAGs and the DAAs, which is a critical part of camp. If you have any students that attend the summer symposium, you kind of know that the SWAGs are absolutely magical. They're camp counselors, but there's so much more. They make the kids' experience so amazing. And if you are younger, maybe in your first couple years of teaching, or if you're a college student listening to this is a great opportunity for you to come be a part and get to witness some amazing teaching going on, because you are there in the rehearsals with the kids and getting to see these top-notch teachers in action and get to take so many ideas away. We also have the Directors Academy assistants, which are, I like to see it as two parts, and I'm really honored this year to be leading the team. It is a very special group of people, and we are kind of like, if you've ever been to any MEA, an organizer and a presider, we help out with all the sessions going on, organizing the director's band, the logistics of the Directors Academy. But the other thing that we really try to do is give our adult participants those positively life-changing experiences. We want to make it magical to where you don't want to leave. And so we really try to just give everyone a great time while they are there. They get to learn a lot. They get to enjoy each other's company. And we just, whatever we can do, we try to help elevate that. Both of those applications are going to close near the end of this month. If you go to camp.musicforall.org/swag, SWAG. I'll say it again. I don't think Patrick has a little, he's already pretty quick about
part
that.
of it. We just need
Yeah,
the
he does.
/swag.
Yeah, you just add /swag at the end. You'll see the applications for both. And again, they're going to close soon. But if you are someone that is wanting to give back to a community like I do, that's a big reason why I do a lot of things with Music for All. I was a Bands of America kid, went to Churchill High School, went to Grand Nationals, participated in lots of Texas BOA events, got to go to camp. And then when I was asked, to serve and give back to the organization, I knew I had to, because of all of the positively life-changing experiences that were provided to me. So if you feel like you have a calling for that, and you want to give back to this organization, that's a really great opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and then you mentioned it before. If you want, the camp is broken up into those two parts. So if you can't make all the week, you can kind of break it up. And like it's kind of funny because when I found out you're going to be on the show, it just kind of this kind of came up as something to talk about, because I am always enamored with directors who get to do all these things, because you also work with the National Concert Band Festival too. Is that true?
I do. I serve as a host.
You have like 94 weekends a year. I swear.
I have a really great administration that loves seeing me go out and learn new things and come back and apply it to our kids. And so they've been so supportive of, I sit down every July with my principal and go, hey, these are the dates I know I'm going to have to miss. Here's Team EA, here's Grand Nationals, here's Concert Band Festival. Are you okay with all of these? And she said yes every time so far. And she thinks it's just really great that I get to go out and, have these opportunities and take it back to our community.
What authentic professional development that actually impacts your classroom? What are you talking about? I'm kidding. That's one of those things that I laugh at, because I think if how you present it, and again, it goes back to the relationships that we build in our life, whether it's, academic, career, all of those things, relationships are the name of the game. Mm-hmm. So what do you say? Because what do you say to the director that might be on the fence about this? How would we entice someone to think about attending?
Do it. You need to go. And I'm not saying this because I'm involved with the camp. I don't know if I would be the teacher I am today if I didn't go that first year and met those people that have continued to push me, have been there when I've had a tough time, have been there with me to celebrate when things are going well. You build such a great support group of people. You learn so much information. You get to meet people that, Richard Saucedo lives in Indiana. I live in Texas. We don't cross paths a ton, but, through getting to go to this camp year after year and getting to know him better, it gave me the courage to ask Richard if he would be willing to write a piece of music to celebrate our 25th year of Ridgeview. And so Richard's actually coming in May, and he's going to read through the piece with them, and then we're going to premiere it in the fall. And again, that's an experience, that's an opportunity I don't know I would have ever had if I hadn't gone to camp. So I know that there are scholarships offered if money is of a concern. There's ways of getting to camp. I know that Sweetwater right now is doing a deal where you can get a discounted rate. I would highly encourage you to take advantage of it. But if you have a means to get to Muncie, Indiana that last week of June, I hope to see you there.
Me too. I hope to actually finally meet you, Matt Wood.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm much shorter in person. I look really tall. I'm kidding. I don't look really tall. All right. So we only have a few minutes left, but we're not done. So don't get fooled that I'm trying to go.
Okay.
Here it goes. All right. Looking ahead, what's next for your program or for Matt Wood?
That's a great question. I'm really looking forward to just learning new things. That's what I just try to do every year. And so I think there's probably specific professional goals that we're reaching towards, but I really don't like sharing those because, I want them to happen organically. I don't want to, I don't really talk to the kids about it. other than, hey, we're, applying for this or we're doing that. And they're aware of it, but I don't try to make it the main thing, And so I would love one day to take my group to the National Concert Band Festival, just because
What?
I have had amazing experiences getting to see other groups and what those kids experience. And that, again, talk about another positively life-changing experience. Those kids changed so much over that week, and getting to see that performance and seeing that audience, and people just absolutely going bananas for them at the end of their performance. And they feel like rock stars. And then they have a world-class clinician come talk to them about the amazing performance that they just had. And, those kids are on the top of the world. And I want my kid to experience that. Who doesn't? And so something like that would be really cool. But right now we're just trying to love each other and be a light of positivity on our campus and our community, because I don't think the world is always that right now. And so we want to be the example.
Right. Yeah, I always say try to separate my life into wishes and goals. I have a ton of wishes, and the goals are the things I can do or I can control. The wishes are the things that I can't, but I still want to aim towards them. All right, and you said one more thing, because this is like the things that inspire me, and I get to use you for my own learning at the same time. So I have a student teacher this semester, and she's doing wonderfully, and I'm having a great. It's great to have somebody else in the building to talk music at.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you'd give yourself as a first year teacher, or what first year advice do you have for a first year teacher?
Do get as much experience as you can. Honestly, when I was a student teacher, I felt so lucky. I student taught with Jarrett Lippman, who was the director of bands at Claudia Taylor Johnson High School. He took a little bit of a break, and now he's back at Vandergrift High School here in Austin. So I get to see him a lot more often. It's really awesome now. He's one of my best friends. But one of the coolest things he did for me was he gave me so much time on the podium. He gave me so much ownership within the program, to where I could, in a safe environment, it wasn't like a free for all, go do whatever. I'm not going to monitor it, but he made sure that I had a little bit of chance to fail. He'd help prop me up, he was always there during rehearsals, and he would help out if something was going down the wrong way. But I felt so confident in myself because I got to have lots of experiences before I was the only person in that classroom. And so if you have opportunities to do that while you're student teaching, or if you have opportunities to bring in a mentor, I'm sure that there is a retired band director. Even if you're the only teacher in your entire district, I'm sure there is a retired band director probably within 50 miles that would love to be in your classroom and help you out and pay it forward like people did for them.
Relationships, it's a thing. And so, okay, so like I just thought of something when we were talking about the camp before we get to, I'm going to ask you the culture question.
Got it.
We probably should have mentioned there are some cool deals up there on the camp, on the Director Academy, and there was also dates up there. Oh, thanks Patrick, awesome. So for just going back, because I just realized we talked about it, but at camp at camp.musicforall.org. There's a sweet deal. You can use the discount code sweet deals at the end of your online I can't say the word. I don't know why I can't speak today. For your online registration. The full week's just $4.49, and the full week of camp is June 23rd through 28th in Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. And it splits up, I believe, and I can correct this next week if I'm wrong, but that little mini session is 23rd, 24th, 25th, and the next mini session would be 26, 27, 28 if you can't stay for the whole week. So thank you for bringing that up, Patrick, because I realized, we talked about the camp, but didn't talk about, we're so excited to go to the camp. We forgot to tell others how to get there.
Patrick is the man.
All right. He is the man. I wish everyone in the world, he's like the Ed McMahon behind the scenes. And so if you need your publisher's clearinghouse, I'm kidding. All right. Final question, final thought. What is your final thought on culture building, personal culture, Bands of America culture, Music for All culture, Director Academy culture? Matt Wood, what are your final thoughts today?
Just invest in people. I think that's what makes the world go round, is investing in each other, loving each other, supporting each other, holding each other accountable when we need to, but in a positive way. That's what makes, what's the phrase? I'm going to forget it now. It's like a rising tide makes all boats float or something. It's something along those lines, but it's true, right? If we all, support each other to new heights as band directors, as musicians in the ensemble, you name it, as a society, we all benefit and are better because of it.
I think the most important word I got out of that was we. We benefit. You are such a giving person. All right, Matt, tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can reach me if you have any questions about camp or anything in general. Here's my email, matt.w@musicforall.org. I'm happy to reach out and talk with y'all. I love meeting new people. I love hearing experiences because it helps me grow as well.
And don't forget your website, concertf.net. Concert F,
Yes.
all one word. So if you're a saxophone player, we're stuck in D again. Anyway, I'm kidding. I have to throw that out there. All right, Matt Wood. I cannot wait to talk to you more. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the third guest. Maybe we'll get you on it for a third time. Maybe we can have our post camp.
I think we should do a camp vlog together. That'd be fun.
No, I do that in a heartbeat. See, we get so many good ideas on here. All right, Matt, thank you for coming on the show today. It has been absolutely, as normal, a fantastic time with you.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. I'm honored to be back.
Talk to you soon. Well, we're so glad you could join us today. This is just a friendly reminder that you can explore our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. You'll find us if you just look. And if you need to look, go to musicforall.org/podcast. Thanks a bunch to my team that makes this amazingly possible. Thanks for everything. And thanks for Yamaha for their continued support, and for Music for All for trusting me on the show. You can reach me at david.duarte@me.com. And it's so nice to be back this week. I hope many of you get a holiday tomorrow. And I hope to see you next week on Culture Before Content. Bye-bye.